joining. Thanks. So I know you have a lot of, you know, busy stuff to do out of your busy schedule. You still find a time out to come and speak to us. We really appreciate you. We want to thank you, and you are welcome. Let me hand over to Karen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Brother Femi, for inviting me, and thanks everyone here for having me. I will just start by giving an introduction about myself so that you get to know who is talking to you, and then I have some set of just 5 points that I have summarized that I think are the things that are one of the things that are most important when you're preparing for your interview to become a successful Scrum Master. So that will be what we will be talking about today. So just a brief introduction about myself. So, what I do as my calling, as I usually tell people, is that I help organizations, teams, and individuals succeed with Agile. So that's how I see myself. So as a job, I am currently an Agile coach. I am also a Scrum Master engineer. I am also a project manager. I am also a leader for diversity and inclusion in my current organization. So I wear so many different hats based on the circumstances. Academically, I have a master's degree in Agile project management. I am a certified project management professional. I am a certified Agile coaching professional as well as a certified Scrum Master. I'm not saying I'm an expert, I'm just saying that I've done all those things. So I used to be a part of Brother Femi's Scrum Master mentoring community as well. So he has really been a great contributor to my career journey so far. So that's why again I'm honored and excited to be here today to share my some of my experience through those things that we will be talking about today. So today I will be sharing with you my opinion about some of the important areas you should focus on as you prepare for your Scrum Master interview. All what we will be talking about is based on my experience as an interviewer as well as an interviewee, from both sides of the table. So please, as we proceed, jot down your questions so we can address them at the end of our talk. Now, based on my experience on both sides of the table, amongst everything that most of the questions that I would normally ask you, the ones that have stood out, to me are the very first thing is tell me about yourself. This particular question, it always seemed really easy, just thinking who doesn't really know about themselves. But if you try to squeeze out what is important with respect to the role you're interviewing for, you will see that if you're not really prepared, there's no way you can come out, you can sell yourself very well at this very preliminary phase of the interview. And this same question is really critical. Why? Because the way you answer this question will determine the direction of the rest of the interview. You can either make it or you break it at this very phase. It helps the interviewer to make an impression of you already. So it is very important that you are prepared even before approaching this question. Sometimes you would think that you know those things already in your head. But to me, what has really always worked very well is even if I feel like I know everything in my head, I still make sure I write them down out of my head. What I think I know in my head, I grab a piece of paper or a book and a pen. I try to write it out down. If I am not able to write it out clear in very short, sweet sentence that anyone can clearly understand, then that's where I know I still have some work to do. And a very good answer to this question shouldn't be more than 2.5 minutes. If you're starting to go over 3-4 minutes, okay, you want to start thinking, oh, you're already going off topic, because they will begin to lose interest in what you're saying. So you want to make sure you capture their attention within that short 2.5 to 3 minute opportunity that you have. So I would like to ask you this. If an interviewer asks you to tell me about yourself, Can anyone tell me what they should focus on within that 2 minutes? I mean, you mustn't necessarily tell me about yourself, but what are the points you think we should focus on to truly sell ourselves?
Hey, the floor is open, please.
Your background.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good one. Any other idea?
Achievements.
Okay,
Your area of strength.
great, that's a good one. Any other one? I didn't hear you, please.
Someone said experience, right?
Yeah, great, yeah. So all these things you said are really good points, because if they ask you, tell me about yourself, obviously they want to hear about your background. So out of your entire background, what do you want to pick out of it that will, set you up for success? Now, I'll just give you my opinion, and it has always really worked for me. I will focus on these specific areas. The very first thing you want to tell them is your current situation. That is where you currently work and the product you're working on. Sometimes as Scrum Masters, it's hard to really understand the product the developers are working on, but I would strongly recommend that you at least have a little understanding that will be enough for you to tell your interviewer. That's, you just want to clearly state your current place of work. You want to clearly state what you do there, the role you play there in terms of your accountability. I'm talking about like a Scrum Master, or if you're an Agile coach or whatever you are. And then you also want to clearly tell them the product you people have worked on. And whatever information you're sharing in this very phase, you want to make sure that it ties with the role you're interviewing for. Anything that you feel like it doesn't really apply, even if it's your greatest achievement at that point in your current situation, no, you don't want to share it. You want to only sell yourself in a way that they will see the benefit you will be bringing in that role that you're interviewing for. That's the first thing you want to address. The second thing that you want to address is your past situation. That's your past experience. What other experience do you have that will benefit this role that you're interviewing for? That's the second thing you want to address. That is, you want to talk about like the other companies you've worked for, the experience you've gathered, how you've helped them succeed in regards to, now you're trying to look for a Scrum Master role, in regards to the Scrum Master role you're interviewing for. And even before you even go to this interview, you want to make sure that you've gone through that job description line after line. That's also very important. Sometimes we tend to rush and then we end up missing important points as opposed to taking our time and make sure that we are hitting the nail directly where it's supposed to be. So that's it for your past. You want to share your past with them, tell them exactly the value that you are drawing from your past that will benefit them. And then lastly, you want to tell them about your current situation. Where you're going. That's your journey, where you're heading to, your goal, your future goal. So if you answer this, tell me about yourself, and you find your interviewer asking you, so why are you interested in this role? And then you know that there was a problem when you answer that question, tell me about yourself. You want to close your answer in a way that your interviewer will already understand why you're interviewing for that role. So what I mean is, if you tell them about your current situation, you tell them about your past, you want to tell them, that is, for example, I would say that, okay, I am currently rounding up with my contract, or you're looking for promotion opportunities, whatever reason it is, but you want to make sure that you're branching and telling them how you even came about this role, what triggered you to start looking before you found this opportunity, or if someone reached out to you, whatever the case is, and you tell them, yes, so that's why you're looking for this role. And not just end there, you also want to sell yourself and tell them why you think you're the best fit for that role. In that case, in this particular area, you want to highlight at least 2 accomplishments which will make you stand out as the best candidate for this role, meaning that the value you will be bringing to their company, which will come out in terms of your recent accomplishments. So that's how you want to wrap up that particular question, tell me about yourself. I believe that if you touch all these areas, they will not go ahead to start asking you, so why are you interviewing for this role? Why are you interested in this role? And things like that. Or why are you interested in this company? only this particular answer, you touching these areas already cover most of the things that they would normally have on their list to ask you, like, why are you interested in our company? Why are you looking for a new role? And you want to make sure that your answer should be very short and sweet and straight to the point. If you're starting to go over 3 minutes, okay, then maybe you want to still have everything. So that is my opinion about that particular question. And there is no way you ever go through an interview based on my experience without encountering this question. So I'm just trying to say that please take it very seriously, because most of the time we tend to neglect it or feel that, we normally have something to tell them, and then at the end of the interview you come out and you're not feeling really good about it, which you should have spent some time to prepare and really sell yourself very well. So that's it for the very first question. The second thing that I have encountered in my experience is they'll ask you, give a summary of what your typical day would look like as a Scrum Master. So now I'm asking you, so if you encounter this question, so how would you address it?
I'm sorry, can I ask a question based on the first tell me about yourself?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so does it have to follow any sequence? Like, do you have to first of all talk about your current situation, then your past, then your achievements, or you can
No. It mustn't follow any sequence, but the point is you should want to make sure that you cover all those areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So on our second question, what would you tell an interviewer that you feel that will they'll buy it? What story are you going to tell them if they ask you to give them like a typical summary of what your day would look like as a Scrum Master?
Anyone wants to try? Just, you guys are already preparing for interviews. Just, like I said, this is a place to learn.
Yeah, there is no wrong answer. Yeah, no wrong answer.
Yeah, please let's learn. I'm also learning. We're also learning. So this is where we can correct ourselves. We don't want to get to interview and at that point it's too late to make corrections, please. And you can always learn from your mistakes. That's the best way to learn. Just go for it, guys.
You must not necessarily summarize your day. You can just maybe state some points that you think we should focus on while talking about this.
All right, I'll try.
Go ahead, please.
Good.
I haven't done it before, but I would think the first thing I would do is I would check my email for the day.
Okay.
To see, also, it also depends if I'm new to the team or if I'm joining an existing team that is already in the middle of a project. But in any way, I would think I would check my email, make sure I clear my email. If I have to respond to some, I do. And of course, we probably want to send, assuming that I've already scheduled a daily Scrum meeting, I maybe send a reminder or something. Then I should, like we properly coach, I should probably want to be at the Scrum meeting maybe 2 to 3 minutes early at the meeting, and facilitate the Scrum meeting, the daily Scrum, I mean to say. And if there's any impediments that arise from this daily Scrum, I probably want to follow up right away and get it fixed if you can. And depending on how many team you are working with, if you have a second one, maybe go into the second one. And I don't know, maybe,
That's great.
That's all I can think of right now.
That's wonderful.
Great.
I think that's wonderful.
PC, I always, like the way you approach things. You're still in the middle of a class. It's not even.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
That is wonderful. Not to talk of interviewing. You've not even done the certification yet. That's a very good one. Thanks, PC.
Yeah. All right. Just for the sake of time, I'll just go ahead and just give my own opinion on how I would normally address this kind of question. So I would strongly recommend that you have a good starting point, because as a Scrum Master, every day is not the same. On Mondays is never the same as Tuesdays, and most of the time it's always unpredictable. The only thing that's not always unpredictable are the standard Scrum events that we all know. Apart from the standard Scrum events, your Monday will hardly ever be like your Tuesday. Your Tuesday will hardly ever be like your Wednesday. So the trick that I found in answering this question is you want to have a good starting point. And to me, I'll always pick a starting point, like something like the day that would normally have our sprint planning, you see, or maybe the last day of the sprint where you have most of the Scrum events. I would want to pick either on the last day of the sprint where we have most of the Scrum events, or I want to pick on the first day of the sprint where we'll do one of the most important sprint events as the sprint planning. So let's say you choose to pick on the sprint planning day. Okay, yes, normally you check your email, but checking your email, it's great, but how does it benefit this role as a Scrum Master that they're interviewing you for? Just because you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to talk too much and get mixed up in the whole thing you're trying to tell them, just go straight to the point and focus only on those points that actually add value to Scrum. So I would go ahead and start by telling them that I come in, I get myself ready, and make it clear to them that, oh, you've decided to pick on, let's say for example, on Monday, your sprint planning is Monday, you've decided to pick on Monday to tell them, have a good story. The key also is to have a story. Always have your story ready, because that's what really sells. So you want to tell them, you come in, you get yourself ready, since it's the day of your sprint planning and it's a very important day. You make, just to make sure that you're prepared, you get yourself ready mentally, and physically, just to make sure that when you get to the sprint planning, everything flows smoothly. So you get your thoughts together, you get your materials together, you get your logistics together, whatever you're supposed to get together, you get it together. And then once your sprint planning starts, everyone comes in. You want to tell them the role you're playing as a Scrum Master in that sprint planning. Yes, you have your other team members, but at that point you're trying to sell yourself as a Scrum Master. So you want to tell them the role you're playing. Yes, you go ahead and facilitate your meeting. While you're facilitating your meeting, what else do you do during that planning? That, as your typical day would look like. During the planning, you're observing, because as a Scrum Master, the key is that you're focusing to make sure that Scrum is established, and not only established, is effective in your organization. So while you're facilitating, you're also staying observant to monitor and make sure that their behavior is aligning with Scrum recommended, best behaviors and things like that. If not, you want to catch all those anti-patterns, take your notes, identify impediments. You are identifying impediment in the process of them doing their planning, because when you talk about facilitation, it means that you've covered the estimation, all those other activities that they normally do during planning. As you are facilitating, yes, you're covering those activities in that. So aside of you facilitating, and then once you're done facilitating your planning, you jump to your stand-up immediately for that day. You facilitate your stand-up, and in the process of facilitating your stand-up, you also try to capture impediments. And Scrum, again, as a Scrum Master, your role is to help your team to become self-organized and self-managed. So even though you're capturing impediments, you want to make it clear to them that you really understand your Scrum concept. You don't just run off and start to remove those impediments. You have to evaluate it. That you normally tell them, okay, so I try to evaluate it and see that, those impediments are the ones that are kind of external, that would really burn the team members' time if they try to remove them. Those are impediments I'll focus on. But impediments that are within their reach, they can easily remove them. You encourage them or empower them to remove those impediments. Those are things you want to focus on. So apart from your normal facilitation of your Scrum events that you're telling them, you tell them that, okay, so once the team disperse and everyone start doing their work, you go ahead now and focus on these other things that you would normally do. So as you've picked on that particular day, you want to create a case scenario that, you also realize that, a team member didn't, actually demonstrated, let's say, one of your rules of engagement in your charter that you've created. A team member was not, let's say for example, the team member didn't update their board or something, or the team member was feeling frustrated during the meeting. So after the meeting, you set up in one-on-one to actually get to the root cause of the issue that at that time you're coaching or mentoring. So you get to the root cause of the issue and you help the team member, walk through that particular issue. You realize that at this moment, again, you're still telling them about your problem solving skills. So you walk through that issue with that team member, and then at the end of the day, the team member was okay and they were in alignment with what the expectation of your team is to succeed together as a team. So you're telling them that, and then you're telling them that after you were done mentoring, you also there were also supposed to be a coaching session based on your agreement with your team. So let's say every Monday you have a 1 hour coaching session. So you went ahead and facilitate your coaching session, a workshop session for your team. So you want to be really specific. And then at the end of it all, you're staying observant. Whatever you're doing as a Scrum Master, you have to be observant. So that particular day, that's what you were doing in everything that was going on. You were observant to catch, irregularities, to catch anti-patterns. And that's how you come up with your content on what you will be doing for the remaining days, in addition to your normal standard events that you would normally do. So that's how you want to summarize it. So all what I've said now, you can just grab the gist in everything I've said and summarize it in a way that you tell them that will really sell yourself. So at the end of the day, you want to be selling yourself as coming from the place of mindset as a Scrum Master, not rules, not following some set of rules or process. No, whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you are reflecting passion. You want to make sure that you are reflecting these Scrum core values. I'm talking about values like commitment, focus, respect, openness, and all that. That's what you want to be demonstrating to them as you're answering this question. So that's how I will approach this question. Now, I hope you're taking down your question or anything you have, so we'll address it at the end. The other thing that I'll have to talk about is, or I know that they'll normally ask is, what is the most difficult challenge you have encountered as a Scrum Master? So even in your class, I would like to ask you, as you're going through this Scrum Master course, what's the most difficult challenge you've encountered in this potential role as a Scrum Master?
By way of first attempt ever, like this is my first attempt ever. I'm just gonna give it a go.
Okay.
Mr. Femi, if you laugh one time, I'm going to run away from
No,
you.
don't worry. We will not. We will not.
Let me go on mute.
Just joking. Okay, so far, the most difficult challenge I would say I have encountered or I have had to deal with has been the pushbacks, especially the one time when I worked with a team that was just transitioning from the waterfall techniques and mindset to agile techniques and mindset. They didn't see the value often for all of those ceremonies, the DSU, the retrospect, the reviews. They didn't understand why we needed to have all of those in place. They didn't understand why we needed to make sure that something of value was given out at the end of every sprint. They didn't even understand the reason why we had to estimate and have sprints. So it was not a walk in the park, but with patience and a lot of coaching and mentoring, they started to see the value for all of the Scrum ceremony and the whole agile mindset. Other than that, it's been things to work with and just exercise patience.
That's a wonderful answer. There cannot be a better answer. I think that's amazing.
I'm sweating, parts of my body.
That's so amazing. That's a very valid challenge that a typical Scrum Master would face. Trust me, because up to now, I still go through that every single day. So what I'll have to tell you is not different from what you just said. But the key is whatever challenge you are telling them, you want to make sure that you're stating your challenge. You want to make sure that you're telling them how you overcame that challenge, how you conquered that challenge. That's how you're selling yourself. You don't just want to tell them, oh, that was the problem and you were so mad and frustrated and okay, so what happened? So you want to tell them exactly explain the story and why you thought it was a challenge, why it was challenging, and then you tell them how you overcame that challenge. And one other important point is you want to come from a place of, not just you. Really try to avoid using I. Try to do that. As a Scrum Master, unfortunately, it's never about you. It's about your team. It's about your customers. It's all about your stakeholders. You supporting them to succeed. So even if you did it all by yourself, as you think, you're telling your interviewers that you collaborated or you partnered with whoever, whatever was the situation, you partner with whatsoever person to state the action that you people did. So yes, maybe it was your idea, but you're coming from the place of team collaboration and all that. Not saying I did this, even if you did it. So that would be my recommendation on that. And
Great.
then
Yeah, great, Preppy. Can I just chip in right
go
there?
ahead, please.
Again, want to tell them, this is what you did, like Karen said. Then make sure you tell them the results, the
Yes,
outcome.
exactly.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
you don't want them to ask you, oh, what now happened? Because sometimes they're very excited. So what now happened after what you
Exactly.
did? Yeah, make sure you tell them this is what happened. And again, I want to chip in this where you use I and we. A lot of times the result, the outcome is we. But what you did, try and it's a thin line. You have to be careful because they don't want you. They want to hear why you're different, what you did that makes the difference. So try and you don't want to use high, but at the same time you want them to know that you led,
Yes,
right?
that's
You
true.
led the team. You are the one that provoked their thoughts. You are the one that observed, saw that this is not going wrong, right? Right? Things like that, and you provoke their thought. Then, as a team, you facilitate a conversation
Yes.
around that, right? So make sure that as you're saying you're making sure that high, that makes sure, me, I'm the one that, without me in a way,
Yeah.
they won't, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a thin line. You don't want to take the glory. As a Scrum Master, you don't take any glory.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, even any leader don't take glory. If you see any leader do not take. If you say a leader, this is what happened to our past president. It's all about him. That's one of it. So if any leader do not take glory, don't take the glory. The results, we collaborated. We now turned out to be this. We now did that. We now did that. But there is a way you have to coin it when you're talking about what you did, right? There's a way you coin it and make sure that you observe this, you facilitate the conversation around that, you make sure that then we collaborated as a team to get this done. So they can tell that you're doing a great job. At least you're saying something. A lot of times, to be honest with you, Scrum Masters just don't solve the problem.
They don't.
You
They don't.
provoke their thought, but you see the problem.
Yeah.
Then you continue to provoke that. What is going on here? I noticed that this is not good. What can we do? Then they begin to come up with solutions. A lot of times the solution for themselves, you just provoking their thoughts, asking them, right? So it's not as if you be solving the problem. You become a blocker yourself. When you're you are working with 4 teams and you're solving all the problems. You're coaching them to be self-organized, like Karen said. So that, because when you solve problems for people, you're taking away the opportunity for them to learn.
Yep.
You need to give them the opportunity to learn. You're not just removing blocker. But you look at the blocker. If it's something that I can do, yes. If it's something, come, let's talk. You can. This is how to get this thing done.
Yep.
So that's just the little that I want to add.
Very true. That's very accurate. So just to add some more, strength to what Brother Femi just said, yes, you have 3 areas that you want to clearly state out. You want to clearly state the problem. You want to clearly state the action you took. And then in this area, when you are stating the action you took, you want to clearly state that whatever thing you brought in was a suggestion, come from a place of suggestion. Avoid saying that I told them that. Avoid using that word. No. Yeah, coming from the place of suggestion or recommendation. That's why you hear me. As I'm talking with you now, I'll hardly say that, oh, I'm telling you no. I always say that I am recommending. You can either take it or leave it. If you think it doesn't work, makes sense, so I'm only suggesting. And once you're suggesting, encourage them to, especially if you're walking through resistant people, you want to encourage them to try your suggestion as an experiment, not take it as, oh, you have to do this. No. Encourage them to try it as an experiment and make them to understand that they can always drop it if it doesn't work. Come from that place. Yeah, so in the area when you're stating your action, that's what you have to. I recommend that that's how you have to come. And then you state what the solution was. All the action that you people took, what was the outcome? Yes, I almost missed that. Yes, so you have to state what the outcome was. And again, you want to talk about what the positive outcome was. So if you have a negative one, don't tell them, please. Yeah, so that will be it.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
we can hear you.
Okay. So yes, I agree with everything Mr. Femi said, and I'm so sorry I didn't catch your name.
Karen.
Karen. Karen.
Yeah.
I probably don't, but yes, I agree with everything Karen said. And I also think a really good acronym that you guys can use is easy as the STAR acronym.
Yes, that's true.
Yep. So, which is just the situation, right? What happened? What was the problem? What's the task at hand? That's what the T stands for. What actions did you take, and what resolution did you take?
That's great. So if you can drop that point in the comment section, that would be really helpful for others.
Yeah, that's a really good way to, you can use this for any interview question, because when you're in interviews, people are looking for you to explain what problems you solved, right? So they want to get in-depth information on what the problem was, what your approach was to it, and what resolution came out of it. The results are very important. So just keep that acronym in mind and always use that whenever questions pop up.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that contribution. Yeah, so, again, I always want to say this. A Scrum Master or a servant leader is way different from, a standard, I wouldn't say leader, a standard project manager. I used to be one, so I know how they reason. So a project manager will answer this kind of question and talking about, I did this, and that may be perfectly okay. But as a Scrum Master, they are looking for someone who can, communicate with people, not talking at people. That's the difference. And it's very easy to miss that line. So please always try to keep that in mind when you're stating your answer.
Then avoid using I manage.
Yeah. Oh, no. You facilitate, you helped, you empowered, you encourage. Those are the words you're using. You influence. Those are the words you want to. The choice of words you want to use. And then, okay. So one other question that I normally see them asking is, how do you motivate your team? So here you want to have a story too. I mean, everything you're telling them, normally you have to present it in a story format, a scenario, So I'm throwing this out here to you. So can anybody just chip in on maybe ideas or points on how they would normally motivate your team or stakeholders?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, please.
I don't have a story, but I think I know of how to motivate a team.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I would say, as a Scrum Master, I motivate my team by facilitating the team and guiding them to achieve the desirable outcome.
Okay.
And also by inspiring and by laying out the requirement standard of the project from the on-get, and then I kind of lay back a little bit to let them try to do the job by themselves, because the team has to be self-organized. And also I will help the team by breaking through barriers and issuing them with a good environment.
Great. I think that's a great try, So thank you for sharing your opinion. Is there any other person who wants to try?
Yeah, let's pick up. Karen is not gonna spank us. She's coming here to help us.
Oh, I'm even sweating right now. So.
Well, we have wonderful Scrum Masters in the house. Transparent Scrum Master. Let's pick up.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're always.
Yeah, we are family.
I'm always learning. I'm writing things down as Thanks Priscilla for giving us that. I'm right.
Yeah.
One or two notes. So guys, we're always learning. Please do speak up. It's better to correct ourselves here. Yeah. Mose, go on. Yeah, go on.
I've been here. I've been listening. Yeah. So to answer that question, I would say, I motivate my team by being a good servant listener, listening to the team, hearing them out. Okay. Any impediment I notice, I kind of take it down. And I will give an example of a developer who I noticed was missing Scrum meetings, daily Scrum stand-ups. So I tried to engage him and know what's up. And he said, what he explained to me was that he always feels like he's being talked down on. Anytime he tries to suggest things, so I encourage him, try to listen to him. Okay, what are your points? And he made his points clear that, okay, he speaks up and it seems like because he's a new developer in the team, the new developer is always like shouting now. So I had a one-on-one with the lead developer, tried to understand his own point, brought up the issue in a way that he will not feel like, oh, it victimizes the new developer. And the new developer was even shocked to even realize that, oh, that was what was happening. And he immediately explained to me that it wasn't like that, but because the meeting is time boxed, so he was always trying to ensure that the meeting goes smoothly. And that was basically resolved after that one-on-one with the developer. And after that, I noticed that the new developer started being more involved in meetings, and of course, he was more motivated. And as a team, we realized that it was better to always speak up when there are issues, and that feedback actually helped the team to deliver better. That's what I was saying.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate your input. Yeah, those are really great points. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I would say I motivate my team by helping them see the value of the product that we're working on.
Wonderful.
And also the benefit that it will provide to the end users or customers.
Wonderful.
And I'll also say that I also motivate them by, we get together, we, have lunches together, we go out, happy hours, and we get to know each other better.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for those points.
Let me just add one more point. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sure, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I think all of the things and more, there are lots of ways to motivate the team. Just like Karen said, you have to keep observing. It's when you observe, you actually find out where they're lacking and find out how you can actually contribute. So all of the things people mentioned are all correct. I'm guessing you guys are already taking notes. And another thing people can do is probably learn to give good comments, kudos, or how do you call it?
Recognize.
Your team, right? Make it like a constant thing, because sometimes some of them feel like they're working and working. It's like you guys don't even appreciate what we're doing, right? So anytime you have the opportunity, even if it's during your daily stand-up, even if it's during the retrospective, always let them know that, I give kudos to my team. Oh, yes, this work you did last time. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for doing this. That was a great job. That was this, that was that. And also, like he said, listen to them, because they're actually looking for someone to listen to. So I listen to my team. I hear from them. I try to see how, I can come in on a personal note if they want me to, be there for them, be that friend that they need. As long as they can see through you, they will trust you. As they trust you, trust me, best in them will come out. So that's the best important.
Great. Someone else.
Okay. Thank you so much. Those are all great points.
Yeah, those are great points. Someone raised up their hand before. Someone raised up his or her hand. Do you want to?
It was me.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so I was just going to add to the point that everybody already made, that to motivate the team, I think empowering the team to be self-managed and being cross-functional, like Scrum prescribed, is one of the things. When people are empowered to do their job and they can trust that the leader has their interest at heart, it will bring out the best in them, and that's a source of motivation for me. That's just what I wanted to add.
Thank you. That's a very great point as well. Yeah, so I think everything everyone has said is wonderful. It will just be the exact what I would tell you. But the only other, addition I would like to add around everything everyone has said is that it's always great to have an approach. Always have an approach, so that at the end you don't come out like being all over the place. So you want to have maybe your answer already ready and with an approach and how you will start, to the end, which will bring the motivation to your team. So I would suggest something like this. Right from the beginning, from the initial phase when you join your team, no matter the level they are at, the first thing you want to understand is if they even understand the goal. That somebody already mentioned that, yes. So you want to understand if they even understand the product goal they are working on, if they understand the vision, if they understand how their contribution at their little level is contributing to that product vision at the higher level. is contributing to the big picture. If there is no understanding around that, and you understand that by having conversations with them, observing, and you, based on your judgment, you would obviously understand if they understand that vision or the product goal. If they don't, okay, you want to make sure that you clearly craft out that product goal, the vision, come together as a team. You all sit together and develop your working document or working agreement or whatever that will capture that kind of information, and make sure that everyone is in sync with what the product vision and the product goal is. If you clearly have that understanding, there is no way you will not be able to feel the impact of your contribution on that goal. Just knowing that what you're doing here will help somebody, like a patient. Let's say you're working on a software that helps patients. You will be kind of motivated. That's the first thing you want to do. Tie your team to the vision and the product goal. That's the first thing you want to do. And then secondly, you want to make sure that your team is buried in the Scrum values, because everything else they do is as a result of those values that are in them, that now we are coming from the place of mindset. So all the Scrum values that you normally know, like respect, commitment, focus, openness, and courage, these 5 Scrum values, you want to make sure that they are the roots of everything else you do as a team. So that's what you do, is you normally evaluate just by observing, communicating with them to understand their mindset about these Scrum values. If you see that there is a gap in that, you want to then apply your coaching, mentoring skills, training skills to make sure that you're closing that gap, and everyone should understand and believe in these Scrum values. Once they already have these values as their root, everything else will flourish. Now you see the tree start growing, and the tree now will begin to grow in terms of team members will now become more self-organized. They will begin to take accountability, and if you give them the sense of ownership, like leave them, trust them that they are smart, trust them that they know enough, to do what they're supposed to do, unless they prove you otherwise. But you have to put that trust there. So in that means that you're giving them ownership of the process, ownership of the product, but you're just there as a referee to monitor and bring them back on track. If they have the sense of ownership, there is no way they will not have a sense of accountability, because there is no way you can think you own this phone and then you go ask someone else to account for the if that phone breaks, you ask someone else to account for it. There's no way that will happen. Normal human beings behave like that. So these are the fruits of these values that you've implanted in them. You begin to see things like healthy conflict. People begin to feel free to speak openly, even if they would hurt the feeling of someone else, but respectfully. You begin to experience things like healthy conflict. You begin to see teams feeling that they can accomplish anything as a team. You hardly hear people talking about they will now focus on we. It's a team thing. If one person fails, they all fail. If one person succeeds, they will all succeed. And all is as a result of these values you've planted in them. You begin to see automatically team members will begin to feel motivated, and then just like Ify mentioned, any accomplishment, you want to call it out and celebrate it. That is, recognize it, and not just telling them in your organization, because most organizations will normally have what we call recognition platform through, gift cards or points and things like that. To make use of those, you tell your interviewers that you really take advantage of those, that you recognize your team members, and you go ahead to, put their name in the system so that their managers can actually see it, and and that's how they stay motivated. Also keeping in mind the value that they are adding to the business, the value that they are adding to the customers, which is as a result of you tying them to the Scrum values and tying them to the product goal and the product vision. And one other important thing that I would like to point out as you try to motivate your team is that you also want to make your interviewers understand that what you actually recognize are values. That is, you recognize behaviors. That is, out of this Scrum 5 values, when any of your team members demonstrate any of these values, let's say during the sprint, a team member mentioned that, a story that they've committed to, they will not be able to accomplish that story because they realized that they underestimated that story. That's just an example. And they're suggesting that they pull that story back out of the backlog, out of the sprint backlog into the master backlog. That is openness that team member has demonstrated. That's courage. They were not afraid to say that, and because of what they said, it helped you to take quick action and adjust it to meet your sprint goal. So you want to make sure that at the end of the sprint, you are recognizing that behavior. You don't want to recognize individual effort, like somebody completed a number of, velocity and things like that. No, that will bring division. That will bring, it's going to defeat the purpose on what you're trying to do. Instead, when you're recognizing behavior and your behavior should be centered around these Scrum values, then you will see your team members now trying to demonstrate these values. They'll begin to become self-organized. They'll begin to take responsibilities. And that is how they all will be motivated as a team. That would be my suggestion. And then,
Thank you. Oh, go on.
All right. And then the last but not the least.
Before you go to the last one,
okay.
Just want to add one or two things. I'm not sure if you are, because me and Kyle, we've come a long way. I'm not sure if you are Metronics, or I think they do it regularly when we were there. I'm not sure if you were there.
They still do it, I think so.
Yeah, they bring some patients, because this Metronics is a company that manufactures medical device. They manufacture stents, all these things you put in your heart, all these things. So what they do, I think it's annually, they bring in patients, right?
Yes.
Just a sort of motivation to the team. They bring in patients, right? I never worked in an IT. I never worked in where a factory or who is manufacturing. Direct manufacturing who is manufacturing the devices. I just work in the the compliance. I work in the PMO office. So they bring everybody together. So they bring in these patients. There was a time they brought in a 6-year-old or 7 or 10. I think the little boy was 10 years old. So he talked about how the device saved his life. He was meant to die. It was one of the devices. And they said, guys, this is what you are all doing. Whether you are the one directly related to manufacturing the device, or you're just sitting on your desk, you're doing compliance, you're doing project management, you're doing timesheet, anything you're doing, this is what the result is, guys. Look at how you guys save it. Look, I'm an African guy that don't care, but that day I was moved to tears.
Yeah, tell me how, even if your heart is built on stone, there is no way you will not feel something. There is no way.
I was moved to tears. Wow, they brought in people that said, look at what you guys are doing. You guys are amazing. You make me live. Do you understand? So this is a kind of motivation. You want to put in more. You want to do more.
Yes.
So I totally agree with everybody that have said something on this motive. It's really important you understand how to motivate your team. And I like the way Karen, I like the way you put it. Ify and the rest of the guys that have talked. Also, the sense of ownership comes from empowerment, right? So one of the things that sometimes lack in a team is the leadership not trusting the team.
Yep.
Right? They
Very
try
true.
and make a lot of decisions for them, even technical decisions. You see, senior program management, because he has written code in the last 20 years, telling the development team the technical option they choose is not right. That is frustrating to the team. This is where you come in as a scrum master. Hey, if we don't trust these guys, why did you employ them?
Exactly.
Why did you? So this is where you come in as a scrum. Why did you employ them? You're telling me that the solution they said is best for the product, you said it's not right. So these are the kind of things you need to have a one-on-one, because I have one senior product. It's not a director. They made him a director now. Director of I can't remember, marketing director, whatever director. He tried to just put his mouth, because he used to be a programmer 20 years ago, right? So he tried to think, oh yeah, he knows it all. And no, I kind of like regular one-on-ones with him. Tom, you can't continue to do this. He got to a point where he saw, I think he found out a bug from production. One of the, his customer reported a bug, and he came to the team. He was just directing blames to the QA. And I said, no, I have to call him and say, you cannot, from now on, if you find anything, go to the product owner. We don't want to hear from you again. Enough of sending emails to the whole world and copying everybody. This said, no, he doesn't want to, he's defending himself that, oh, no, I don't want to throw Ashley under the bus. This is not what I meant. Please, next time, send it to the product owner. We don't want any email from you again. Anything you find, Tom, please send it to the product owner. Product owner will take it to the team and will address it accordingly. So these are why you are there. You are not just there to sit down. You are there because you want to shield the team.
Yep.
Because the lady was really annoyed. Am I not doing the things right? So I said, don't worry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
he wants to impress too because of his new role, right? So he kept bringing, and that is demoralizing to the team. That's not motivating them. So these are the kind of things you block
Yes.
as a Scrum Master. No, Tom, please go to the product. We just want to talk to these guys. There's a reason you employ these guys, right? Then let's talk to the product owner.
Yeah.
Go ahead, carry.
And when you see something like that, just to add to what Brother Femi said, if you see something like that, that's already an opportunity, a coaching opportunity for you, because clearly that director or whoever he is,
He doesn't understand.
yes, he doesn't understand. His mindset is not right.
No.
So that's a coaching opportunity for you. And as a Scrum Master, it's your accountability to coach the organization. And then secondly, yes, all what Brother Femi has said is great, but please don't go say it the way he said it.
And yeah, me and the guy will build a relationship.
Yes, come in a way that, like, approach it in a way that I am trying to.
Sorry, thanks for correcting me, Karen. But me and the guy, we are like, we've come to, we have a very good relationship. So we talk to ourselves anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't go and talk to
Don't go.
that. No. Sorry,
Yeah.
because I was really annoyed and I called him. We talk to ourselves anyhow. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's just been made. He didn't expect it. He was promoted from maybe 3 levels up.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I'd like to be in that place.
yeah, the guy is very good. So
Yeah.
he brought a lot of transformation to the organization.
Okay. Yeah, so in addition to everything, I'm just trying to add that you should come from a place of I'm just trying to understand the reasoning behind what you said today.
Like I told you, understanding why.
Yes, attack the root cause. Attack the root cause to get to why he said that, and you walk your way through solving that problem and help him understand why it's not right for him to say that.
Remember 5 whys, guys.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the very last thing, as time is against us, is so the last question, but not the least, is if a product owner is not very familiar with Agile Scrum, what will you do? They can ask this question in so many different ways, but in my experience, I've seen they've always come up with a question around you, how you're helping the product owner, how you're supporting the product owner. So because of time, I'll just go ahead and share my opinion here. So normally, if they ask you this kind of question, they're trying to see how you're supporting the product owner, because if you read the Scrum guide, it clearly states that a Scrum Master is supposed to support the product owner, establish Scrum and values and principles. So you would tell them that, for example, you realize that your product owner was not consistently making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do to meet the expectation of the teams to succeed as a Scrum team. So that is, they were not frequently prioritizing their backlog as they should. They were not frequently, ranking it. Sometimes they will prioritize it, but not ranking it as they should. Sometimes the stories will not have complete information. That is, they will not have all the details necessary for the team members to get going on the work. They will not have, maybe the acceptance criteria will be missing and things like that. So you thought, okay, that's an issue. And what you did was you set up a meeting one-on-one with your PO to really understand the reasoning behind all these, these gaps that was causing your team to always spend so much time, especially during refinement or planning, or they will be running after the PO. Sometimes the PO is not even available. So you trying to understand that, that's when you learn that the PO clearly state that, he's not from an agile background and is willing to be helped. So together you establish a consistent schedule with your PO, a weekly schedule where you normally meet with your PO to make sure that all this information that I just shared with you are up to date in the backlog. If there are other people who are accountable for the stories that were in that backlog, you are together with the PO, you are identifying those kind of people so that you're reaching out to them already to ask the information that is necessary to get into that backlog. And then the other part is that, you also realize that the PO was so divided on so many other work in the organization, and through the conversation, that's when you notice that even the organization didn't really have a clear PO role. So it wasn't only the PO's fault that the PO wasn't always available. It was happened because, again, you don't want to throw your PO under the bus. It will not be good looking for you in your interview session. So you want to also claim that, the PO was busy for a reason, because the role wasn't clearly carved out. As a result of that, the PO was so divided doing so many other things. That's why he wasn't very available. So you had...
Before I lose this thought, do not run down anybody
Yes.
when you're doing interview.
Yes, you
That's
don't
very
want to do
important.
that.
Don't just go and say, and start running people down. Sorry,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes. No, thank you. Thanks for chipping in that. Yeah. So that's what you would want to tell them. And again, that's an opportunity for you to identify who is responsible in carrying out roles and responsibilities and accountability. It's an opportunity for you now to connect, to find out who that person is and connect with that person together with your PO to clearly coach them and mentor them on the role of a PO. So that this what I'm telling you, just using as an example as the actions you took, and as a result of that, it made them to understand exactly what the PO would be doing and why that PO is needed for the team to actually accomplish quality result at the end of the sprint. So based on that, the role of the PO was clearly carved out, and then now you were able to have your PO available. And this weekly 1 hour meeting that you have with your PO also helped your backlog in a way that the backlog was always up to date when your team is meeting for refinement or planning, and that helps solve the problem. So that's the support you provided to your PO. That's how I'll approach that question. So that's, I mean, so many things I would really love to share with you, but because of time, I would want to end here. And I don't know, maybe we'll just give 2 minutes for questions because I have another meeting at 8 o'clock. So I'm sorry about that, but that's the situation.
That's fine. That's why I said I'll time box it to 2 minutes for questions. Even if you have questions, if Karen cannot answer, I can see all the Scrum Masters in the house who are capable. So questions, please. Let questions flow in there. I can see Melanie. We have to talk. I don't know where you've been. I can see Ify. I can see Jai. I can see a couple of Scrum Masters who.
Let me just help them ask one question.
Okay.
I don't know any of Scrum Masters could help answer as well. So I know one question they would ask you, just because this is the COVID period, most people are working from home. They would ask you, have you worked with remote teams before, and how were you able to get them engaged?
Yes, that's a very valid question.
Somebody could help answer.
Okay, someone please help answer. Karen, if you have 1 minute, you can answer. Otherwise, we'll move to someone else. Someone else can.
Yeah, I appreciate if someone, let's give the opportunity for someone to try.
Okay, let someone try.
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
So is this the part where we talk about co-located teams?
Yeah, co-located teams that are working in the same office, right? Teams that are not distributed or remote.
Yeah, you're talking about offshore teams.
We're talking about offshore teams, distributed or remote. Co-distributed team. Co-located means working in the same location, right? Distributed or remote means, and remote might just simply mean working from home. It might be in the same geographical area, but distributed means different geographical areas.
Okay, so let me try for remote, as in remote working from home, irrespective of the geographic locations.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so one time when I worked with teams that, especially with the upsurge of the COVID situation, I've had a few teams work remotely, so because of social distancing and all. In the beginning, I've had to make my team, use the virtual devices, make sure that they are engaged through all the meetings. At some point, we had to make use of the camera features on the Zoom and the team meetings. And once everybody got situated with working remotely, it was easy to keep making progress. So for that period, it was just about continuous follow-up, making sure that everybody was attentive and following through with whatever we were doing, or whatever meetings we were having per time, especially using the most available devices. I don't know how badly I did. You got tell me.
Sorry. That's a very beautiful answer. I just want to do something funny, right? So assume I'm the interviewer. I'm just going to ask you a very quick question. So yes, you told me this, but what if I decide not to turn on my camera? How can you tell that I'm actually engaged in this meeting, or in all of the ceremonies that you're talking about? How can you tell that your team members are engaged? not to turn on their camera. So how can you keep them engaged?
We had participation in making people read off from I don't know the tool I want to say now, but I want to talk about the tool. So participation was, by making people read off whatever note is that notepads or the sticky notes we had as our meeting agenda or whatever board we were reading from. So even though sometimes we didn't have everybody with their videos on, participation was making sure that they were reading out, they were typing, they were dropping messages. Sometimes I would just call people randomly and have them help us with, contributions as the meeting went on.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good one. So yeah, I was looking out for that one, you calling out people, because sometimes that's the easiest way to call attention.
Thank you.
But random time, just mention the team member. So what do you think? So XYZ, what do you think? Something like that. So that calls their attention back. Most people multitask in real life. In real life situation, a lot of people are multitasking, even doing these things. So how do you get them engaged? That's a very good point. Because you call them.
All right, I think I'll have a hard stop. So thanks everyone.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, quick question. I'm sorry. So is it also possible to say that, once you guys go virtual, you also have to, change, maybe add that to your team agreement to say that once you're having virtual meetings, that everyone should have the camera on. That was an agreement. And so everyone came to the meeting knowing that they have to have the cameras on. Is that possible to say that?
I think you can discuss that when you're putting your agreement together. You people can discuss it, but if your team agrees to it, okay, then that becomes an agreement because it's supposed to be a consensus agreement. But if they don't agree to it, it cannot be an agreement.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it has to be the team agreeing that
yes,
we're making changes to our team norms, and so because we're moving to a virtual environment, this is what we're going to do going forward, since we're not able to meet in person. Of course, it has to be everyone agreed to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes, Gladys, their excuse might be, my bandwidth at home, I have 4 other kids putting on their camera going to school. There's nothing you can do about it, right? My internet, if I put my camera, which is the fact, sometimes when you have a lot of people in your household, right, putting their camera on using that same internet, it might drop the connection.
Okay.
Yeah, say if I put my camera on, it would just drop the connection and I won't be able to get into the meeting anymore. So that's a valid excuse. Do you understand what I mean? Then then you have to exempt him from that. Yeah, and say, okay, you want him to be in the meeting, but if you put on the camera, you can't say, one, increase your bandwidth of your.
No. You can't. Right. I mean, of course, we know nothing is set in stone, right?
Nothing is set in stone. Yeah.
Right.
So people do make funny excuses, and you just have to accept it. There's nothing you can do.
So, but what I'm trying to add here as well is that, just keep it in mind that you cannot say that you have to do this moving forward. No. You have to discuss it with your team, especially and a perfect opportunity will be retrospective. If they agree to it, they all agree, okay, and then you can go ahead. But if they all say no, some people might agree, some people might not agree. In that case, okay, those who are comfortable, go ahead and turn it on. But one other addition is that maybe you want to come, again, I'm always talking about these values. You want to come from a place of helping them understand that, okay, it should come from a place of honesty, truth. If you truly and honestly feel that you are able to turn on your camera, you don't have anything stopping you, you highly encourage them to do that. But if truly and honestly something is stopping them, like what Brother Femi said, maybe that's a valid excuse. Okay, that's fine. But coming from a place of honesty, and if they actually have these Scrum values in them, they will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. If you have more... Okay, go on.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hey, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a friend who is a Scrum Master, and she just started in January. And it's like she's always in a meeting. And so my question to her today was, hey, you guys have a lot of meetings. Do the developers have time to work?
No, developers would not be in the meeting. A lot of meetings. If the Scrum Master might have up to 2-3 teams, right? So if
she has just one team. And it's like they're always having meetings. And she was actually complaining. She was like, you know what? I think that has to reduce though. So I'm just wondering, I don't know if that's what you guys are noticing in your own team.
meetings?
It does. Scrum Master needs to do something about it because if you look at Scrum itself, the prescribed meetings are not that many. Of course, outside of the prescribed meeting, there are some meetings like design sessions. There are some meetings like user story mapping session, user story workshop, and all that. But those would not be consistent grooming meetings. But I don't think one team. Trust me, you're gonna be bored. If they should just have one team working with one team, you won't have so many meetings. Of course, you'll be meeting with product owners. I don't know. Every team is different. But if you just go by the prescribed ceremonies and few other meetings that we have, design sessions, grooming meeting, that will take the whole day every day.
Yeah.
But if you have multiple teams, of course, I'm in meetings most days because I have 4 teams that I meet. So
I don't envy you.
I don't know. Maybe if you have Karen could correct.
Brother Femi, I don't envy you. I don't envy your life at all.
No, don't envy me.
For me, I just have one tip for everybody. Just go into your interview with the mindset that you can get challenged. All of these things we've all said, you have it right to go. You finish saying a particular thing, you think you finish saying it. Somebody from the interview panel will challenge what you're saying. Just like the way I threw this question to this last question now. Somebody will just ask you the same thing you said, and they'll turn it upside down. So what do you think? Right? So one good thing is come with that confidence. Even if you forget the new thing, still have your confidence.
Yes.
It will carry you through to the end of your interview.
Yeah, confidence is important. Some people, if they would come from back, there might be multiple interviewers.
Yeah.
So please, be ready. Be ready. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot, Karen. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Ify. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Other guys in the house as well. For coming, sharing their story, answering questions and all that. We will meet again on Monday.